Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Spoop. I'm your host, Don, and today we're going to talk about Mothman, which I watched for free on Tubi. As per usual on Let's Talk Spoop, we break things into six separate categories. Those six separate categories are story, acting, music, atmosphere, look, and finally creep. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Mothman. Story. So the story of Mothman, it kind of opens up with one of those like classic bunch of teenagers did something terrible, i.e., murder, and they decide to cover up for it. Part of the twist on that is that one of the murderers is the brother of the kid that they murdered, and he doesn't seem to be affected in the slightest about the fact that he just murdered his brother. He's really just a bad sibling overall. Very disappointing. But the twist on this is that the killer that gets revenge isn't the kid that was murdered or a family member or something like that. It's the Mothman. Mothman. Right. I can't get my fingers to point. There. Mothman. The Mothman. So this takes place in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and the Mothman has been summoned because somebody who wasn't supposed to die died, and the people got away with it, and that's essentially the plot. Um, 3 out of 5 is not the most original, but it was better than nothing, so I enjoyed it enough. Acting. So the only actor in this movie that I recognize is Jewel Saith. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who I only really know from Firefly, and she still looks absolutely gorgeous. However, at the beginning of the movie, they're all supposed to be teenagers, and it fast forwards 10 years later. And as beautiful as Jewel Saith is, she at no point in this movie looked like a teenager. She looked way too old to be a teenager. Also, this whole movie, it sounded like she had been screaming before they were filming her, so her voice just sounded like weirdly throaty and off. And a lot of the acting in this movie was subpar, to say the best. So I gave it a 2. Music, there's nothing really to talk about. 2.5. Atmosphere. Um, with the acting being subpar, and the complete insanity of the idea that the Mothman is out for revenge for people, I didn't really care too much about this movie or what was going on in it. Adele was pretty enwrapped with it, but I didn't find it to be that good. So 2.5 because Adele liked it. Look, the special effects in this are pretty bad. I think this movie was made in 2011. I'd have to look it up again to be sure, but the special effects, the CGI in this is not what you would expect from a 2011 movie. So I gave it a 2. Finally, Creep. This movie's not scary. It didn't scare me at all. There aren't really any good jump scenes. So there's not really much in it for the creepiness factor. So that gives us a good old 1 out of 5. So we tally up all those scores and we get a 2.16. I rounded up to a 2 because I love Jewel Saith. So 2.2 for Mothman. It's watchable, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Other than that, what did you think? Have you seen Mothman? Let me know in the comment section down below. Think about liking, think about subscribing. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we need about 200 more. So if you tell two friends, then you'll have more friends than I do.